When people talk about Kurt Cobain, they often freeze him in 1991. Flannel shirt, messy blonde hair, screaming into a microphone while a generation found its voice. But his story didn't start with fame, and it doesn't end with tragedy. It's more complicated than that. After the explosion of Nevermind, Kurt felt trapped inside something he never meant to create. He admired underground credibility. He wanted art. What he got was global hysteria. Teen magazines plastered his face everywhere. Major brands tried to commercialize the grunge look. And suddenly, authenticity, the very thing he valued most, was becoming a product. He pushed back in subtle ways. Sometimes not so subtle. He openly criticized macho culture in rock. He spoke out against racism and homophobia at a time when that wasn't standard for mainstream rock stars. At concerts, he would stop performances if he saw violence in the crowd. He once made it clear that anyone who was sexist or prejudiced wasn't welcome at his shows. That wasn't image management. That was conviction. But conviction doesn't cancel out inner struggle. Behind the scenes, the pressure kept mounting. The relationship between Kurt and Courtney Love became constant tabloid ammunition. Interviews were dissected. Private arguments were speculated on publicly. Every move felt monitored. For someone already uncomfortable with attention, this level of scrutiny only intensified his anxiety. Then there was fatherhood. When Francis bin Cobain was born in 1992, it shifted something inside him. Friends said he was deeply protective and surprisingly gentle. He talked about wanting to break cycles from his own childhood. He didn't want his daughter to feel the instability he had experienced after his parents' divorce. That desire to protect her clashed constantly with the chaos surrounding his life. Musically, he was evolving. With In Utero, he deliberately moved away from glossy production. The album sounded raw, jagged, uncomfortable at times. It felt like he was stripping the paint off the band's image. Songs like Serve the Servants directly addressed fame and resentment. All apologies sounded almost like a quiet surrender, layered with exhaustion rather than rage. Critics were divided. Some praised the artistic risk. Others thought it was self-sabotage. But Kurt didn't seem interested in pleasing anyone anymore. And then came MTV Unplugged in New York, a performance that still gives people chills. There was no explosive distortion. No wall of noise. Just candles, acoustic guitars, and a fragile honesty that felt almost too intimate. Instead of playing the band's biggest hits, he chose deep cuts and covers. It was as if he was curating a mood rather than a set list. Looking back, many fans interpret that performance through the lens of what happened next. But at the time, it simply showed how layered he was as an artist. He wasn't just angst and distortion. He was melody. He was vulnerability. He understood dynamics in a way that many louder rock bands didn't. In April 1994, Kurt Cobain died by suicide at age 27. The news sent shockwaves across the world. Fans gathered in parks, outside radio stations, and in record stores. For many young people, it felt like losing the one artist who understood how they felt. But here's what matters. His life wasn't a warning sign. It wasn't a prophecy. It was a complex human story. And reducing him to the 27 Club mythology oversimplifies everything he created and believed in. His impact reshaped music permanently. Before Nirvana, mainstream rock was dominated by glam metal. Polished, theatrical, flashy. After Nirvana, the industry pivoted almost overnight. Record labels scrambled to sign alternative bands. Grunge, once regional to the Pacific Northwest, became a global movement. Artists suddenly felt permission to be messy, honest, and imperfect. His songwriting style also shifted expectations. He combined raw aggression with pop-level melody. Loud, quiet, loud dynamics became a blueprint. Bands in the late 90s and even 2000s borrowed heavily from that structure. But beyond music, Kurt influenced culture. He blurred gender lines in fashion. He wore dresses during photo shoots to challenge stereotypes. He rejected traditional rock star bravado. He admitted insecurity openly. For young men especially, seeing a frontman express vulnerability without apology was powerful. And decades later, that honesty still resonates. New artists continue to cite him as an influence. Vintage Nirvana shirts are worn by teenagers who weren't born when he was alive. His journals, released years after his passing, revealed a mind constantly sketching ideas, lyrics, and visual concepts. He wasn't accidental. He was deeply creative and meticulous about his art. The myth of Kurt Cobain sometimes overshadows the musician. But when you strip away the headlines, what remains is someone who changed the emotional tone of rock music. He proved that you didn't need to posture to be powerful. You didn't need to pretend to be invincible. He once said he would rather be hated for who he was than loved for who he wasn't. That line feels like the core of everything he stood for. Not perfection. Not fame. Just truth. And maybe that's why his voice still cuts through decades later. Not because of the noise. Not because of the tragedy. But because it was real.
Thank you, my viewer. I hope you keep it here on my channel for more discoveries on all the celebrities' untold journeys. Like, comment, and subscribe on Hajararama channel. Thank you so much.